Hi, welcome back to Math Learning Groups. Now, today we are going to look at another paper 2 problem, and this problem is really hard, alright, it's quite challenging, and it's really hard to solve until you see something that makes it a bit easier. Alright, so what is the method that we can use to solve this problem? So let's read the question. So, Mrs. Tan decorated opposite sides of a rectangular room for her son's birthday party. On one side, she hung triangular flags of base 15 cm from one end to the other without leaving any gaps. So if you look at the figure 1, there are triangles and there's no gap in between the triangles, and the base of each triangle is 15 cm. And you go to the next figure. On the other side, she hung photographs of her son from strings tied 9 cm apart, right? 9 cm apart between every string. The first photo and the last photo is 9 cm, right? First photo and the last photo 9 cm from the wall, as shown in figure 2. Okay, so if you don't understand what the question is saying, you just look at the figure, right? And then you will understand what it means, right? And she used 19 more photos than flags. Okay, 19 more photos than flags. So what was the length of the room in meters? Okay, now it's a little hard, complicated. But we know that the length of the wall, the length of the room is the same. Whether you use triangles or whether you use rectangles, it's the same length. So which means that I will need to make the numbers equal, right? Make the numbers, which is 15, right? The base of one triangle is 15, and I also need to make the number here, right? The number here the same, make them equal. Alright, so how do we do that? We do something called listing. So there's a method called systematic listing. So you list out your numbers. But what kind of numbers is that? You want to have a same number because the length of the wall is the same. So we are going to list out our common multiples. So method, systematic listing, right? Using common multiples. Okay, so what do we do that? Alright, now to do this question, it will be very hard because of the rectangles. Okay, because of the figure 2. Right, it's hard to know how many rectangles. Right, how many rectangles are there? So what do we do? So the lesson or the trick is this. Okay, the trick or the the point, the lesson. Okay, the lesson is this: that you ignore the bottom rectangles. Okay, ignore the bottom rectangles, and you just focus on the rectangles on top. Okay, just focus on the rectangles on top, and you will realize that that every 18 cm, okay, every 18 cm there will be one rectangle. So you just look at the rectangles on top. And as you're looking at the rectangles on top, you will see something. Okay, if I were to keep drawing, all right, some more rectangles on top, and then maybe I have another rectangle here, for example. If I were to keep drawing, you will notice there is a pattern actually, and this is what makes the problem a little easier. All right, and you'll find that everything becomes easy because of this. And then if I were to draw, you will notice a pattern. How do I find how many rectangles below? Now there are 4 rectangles on top. Right, if you can see in this diagram, then how many rectangles are there below? There will be 3. And how do you get 3 rectangles below? You just look at how many rectangles on top and you just minus 1 to get how many rectangles below. So for example, if I have 3 rectangles on top, like what you see, 3 rectangles on top, then there will be how many rectangles below? There will be 2 rectangles below. So the pattern is this. How many rectangles on top? You just have to minus 1 to get how many rectangles below, and that makes everything simple. Okay, that makes everything simple already. Okay, so so let's do our listing. So I'm going to list out the multiples, and then there's a lesson here to find common multiple. How do you find common multiple? All right, now for every triangle there's a base of 15 cm. So 15 cm, that is one triangle, right? And if 18 cm, right? 18 cm, that will be one rectangle. Agree? One rectangle. Okay, so I will need to make them equal because the length of the room is the same for all the triangles and for the rectangles. So how do you make them the same number? How do you make them equal? You have to find the common multiple. And how do you do that? Well, shortcut. There's a shortcut here. Alright, what's the shortcut? You look at the bigger number, which is 18, and the multiple of the next number, the next multiple of 18 is 36. Can 36 divided by 15? Cannot. So go on. Then what else? And then you have 54. Can 54 divide by 15? Cannot. So 18 times 4, go on. 18 times 4 will be 72. 72 divided by 15, also cannot go on. Next multiple, 18 times 5, 90. Can 90 divide by 15? Yes. So your 90 is your common multiple. That is a shortcut to find your common multiple quickly. Okay, so let me just erase all these multiple and let me just put down the first common multiple, which is 90. So if the length of the room is 90, then how many triangles are there? 90 divided by 15, you will get 6, right? 6 triangles. If the length of the room is 90 cm, how many rectangles are there? So 90 divided by 18, I will get 5. Okay? Because why? because one rectangle is 18 cm. Okay? You look at the figure. Every 18 cm is one rectangle. You just look at the top rectangles. Don't look at the rectangles below. Just look at the rectangles on top. Okay, on top. So every 18 cm is one rectangle. Every 15 cm is one triangle. Okay. All right. So if the length of the room is 90 cm, there are 5 rectangles on top. And then there must be how many rectangles below? You minus 1. Okay, you minus 1 and you will get 4 rectangles below. Okay, let me just adjust it a little bit. And so there are 5 rectangles on top and there are 4 rectangles below. And total rectangles will be 9. Right, so there are 9 rectangles. Right, if the length of the room is 90 cm. So do I get 19 more photos than flags? Do I get 19 more? No, I don't get, because 9 minus 6, right? 9 rectangles minus 6 triangles, I get only 3 more. So I have to continue to do listing. Right, so this is the method to list, okay, to do your listing. And what do you list? Multiples, okay, multiples. So what's the next common multiple? You just take 90 times 2, all right, without having to write out many multiples. So to get the second common multiple, you just take 90 times 2, and that's how you get the second common multiple. Okay? Alright, then what do you do next? Then you divide. Okay, divide to get what? To get how many triangles. So if the length of the room is 180 cm, 180 divided by 15, and you will get how many triangles? 12 triangles. Okay? And if there are 12 triangles, then how many rectangles? 180 divided by 18, that will be 10 rectangles on top. And how many rectangles below? That will be 9 rectangles below. And the total will be 19 rectangles. Right? So do I get 19 more photos than flags? No. 19 minus 12 is 7 more. It's not 19 more. So you have to continue to do listing. Alright, so let's continue to do listing. And what do we have? So how do you get a third common multiple? You go back to the first common multiple, which is 90. 90 times 3. Okay, sorry. 90 times 3 will be 270. Okay, so let's put down 270. That is the third common multiple. So you can see it's very easy to get your common multiples. Just look at the first common multiple times 2, times 3. If still not enough, then later you times 4 to get the next common multiple. Alright, so if the length of the room is 270 cm, then how many flags? 270 divided by 15, you will get 18 flags. Okay, 18 flags. And then how many rectangles? 270 divided by 18, you will get 15 rectangles or 15 photos on top. And how many rectangles below? Minus 1. Right? So how many photos will you have below? You always minus 1. So if there are 15 photos on top, you minus 1 to get 14 photos below. And that gives you 29. Right? 29. So you have 29 photos altogether. Okay, then you take 29 and you minus what? You take 29 and you minus 18. Right, minus 18. So do you get 19 more? No, you didn't. Right, you get 11 more. But you're getting nearer already, nearer to 19 more. So continue to do listing. So what's the next common multiple? 90 times 4, 360. Alright, so that is the next common multiple. And that will be how many flags? 360 divided by 15, you will get 24 flags. Okay, 24 flags. And how many rectangles? 360 divided by 18, you will get 20. Right, 20 rectangles and 19 rectangles below. So 20 rectangles on top, 19 rectangles below. Right, and you will get a total of 39 rectangles. Alright, so is that 19 more photos than flats? You take 39 minus 24 is only 15 more. So it's still not the answer, but getting closer already. So you go to the next common multiple, go back to the first common multiple, 90 times 5, and you get 450, which is the next common multiple. That is the length of the wall. So 450 divided by 15, you will get 30. Alright, so there are 30 flats or 30 triangles. And how many photos? 450 divided by 18, you will get 25. 25 photos on top and 24 photos below. So what is the thing that makes everything simpler? Is how you find the flats below. How many flats on top? You just minus 1. Because if you do not see that, then it's actually very, very hard to solve, or almost quite, Mr. won't say it's impossible to solve, but it's really hard to solve if you don't see that. You need to minus 1 to get how many photos below. Once you can see that, everything becomes actually quite simple together with the method that you are using. So you have 49, right? 49 photos altogether. Right, so now do I have 19 more photos than flats? You take 49 photos minus 30 flats, I get 19 more photos than flats, which is correct. So what is the length of the wall? The length of the wall must be how many? The length of the wall must be 450 cm, which is over here, right? The length of the wall. So you will need to change that into meters, which is 4.5 meter. You divide by 100. Right, to get 4.5 meters. And that's how you solve using systematic listing, which is a method. But even then, Mr. Tong thinks that it's not easy. Because why is it not easy? Because of having to know how to find the flats, how to find the photos. Right, the flats are easy to find, but the photos are not easy to find because of the way they are arranged. Alright, so but once you understand how to get how many photos below, how you get how many photos below, then everything becomes easier, right? It's quite easy to solve already. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. So stay tuned to the next paper 2, right? The next question, right? The next lesson that we'll be doing on paper 2 question. So we focus, right? In our paper 2 lessons, we focus on what? On the methods, on the different kinds of methods that we can use to solve different kinds of problem. So if you have the method, most of the time you find that you don't really think very hard, right? If you are competent, if you understand the methods, you are competent in using the methods, you know when and how to use the method, you will find that solving maths problem is actually doesn't have to be a nightmare. It can be quite easy, right? If you have the methods at your fingertips. Alright, so we come to the end of the lesson. So stay tuned and stay tuned to the next lesson, and I will see you in the next round.